Well, I hope you're good at using the tools I talked about now, because in this part we want to go through the editing tools in Revit. So, if you have such shape in AutoCAD and you want to do the dividing of it, what things you need to do? Definitely first you will receive an offset from the exterior lines and then trim the extra parts. So now we want to learn these editing tools, but in Revit. All these tools can be found in the modify headline, that you can see the icons and you can see the shortcuts if you go and hold your mouse on it. The first tool I want to talk about is offset and its shortcut is OF. I click on it. The most important thing that offset has is the amount of it. For example, I want to offset 5 meters, that I write it here. So you will go on a wall you want to offset, and as you can see, you can change the direction of your offset by moving your mouse. So one offset here and one here. And there is something great in Revit, and if you offset the next one, it will continue the previous one. You can't help it. If you don't want it to be continued, then you need to edit it again. It does something else that is great too. For example, you want to offset this one, but you want this one to be inside. But it doesn't let you do it. As you can see, whatever you mouse, it doesn't show the inside. It says because you drew the last one outside and now you're making a mistake. It gives you a warning. It doesn't give you the permission because it thinks that you're making a mistake and it's right. So what do I do if I want to offset from inside? I tell you to listen to it, and then after you did it, then offset from the inside. And then you can delete that wall from outside. This is a good trick that many times can help you. You need to learn it. And it has one more trick too. So one of them was that when you do one of the offset outside, the next one can't be inside. So you must delete the first one. The other trick is that when you offset this one, for example, 5 meters, it offsets the other one, half of it. And it does it because it wants the new space you create not to get involved with the walls. And also it does this thing only once, so if you delete it, it won't do it anymore. You see, just like that. So when you delete it once, it's like you tell it not to get involved. I know what I'm doing. And then you can go on with your work. So remember these two tricks about offset. The next thing in Revit that is so important is that you can inactivate the copy in here. So if you inactivate the copy and then you, for example, enter the offset 1 meter, as you see, and the wall will be moved to the place that we have determined. And it can be so useful because it kind of updates the walls around it. And you might think that it's not an interesting point because I could do it with scale or extend in the AutoCAD. But tell me this, if I want to, for example, offset this wall from inside in Revit, as you can see, in AutoCAD, are the other walls edited too? No, definitely not. Or for example, if I make this corner a fillet, and let me do it, and the model of the wall is different, let me fix it. Yep. Check this out. For example, if I click on offset for 1 meters, this is how it works, as you can see. It can be also useful, for example, when you have designed your plan, but suddenly you find out that you need to extend it 1 meter from every side. So you will inactivate the copy, the 1 meter offset, and you will hold your mouse on it. But what do I do to offset it all together? Do you remember what we had in select, that it would select all together? Exactly. Tab. So if I want to offset all these walls together, I will hold my mouse on a wall and then click on tab. I told you first it highlights and then a click will make it. You see how wonderful it is? Alright, let me tell you an example. Imagine this is your project and now we want to make a portico around it. We activate the copy and the size will be 210. You hold your mouse on a wall, you tap and then you click. You see, it can be useful many times. Let me tell you a point. When you click on offset and then you enter a number, for example 2.5 meters, you see the mouse flasher is here now. So if you want to offset one wall, then it will be okay, but if you want to tap and then click on it, it won't work because the mouse flasher is on the offsets number. So remember this in all commands in the Revit. If the flasher is still in the offsets number, the tab will not work. You need to click once and then it will be free. Then you can use the tab to do whatever you want to do. Alright, so when you enter the number here, if you see it's flashing, you need to click on the page once so that it exits from there. And it happens to you in other commands too. Click once and then you can continue just like that. Alright, next tool is called split. Let me draw a wall here and make it a bit thicker. This is not a part of your lesson, but while I'm doing it, you can do it too. But I will teach them to you later about this menu and everything. So, a split. This is the icon. The shortcut is called L. You click and then you come to the wall. And anywhere of the wall you click, it cuts it for you and makes the wall into pieces. Just like you can see. And I will talk about the usage of these pieces. Now, how can we give it a size? For example, you want to cut your wall from 2 meters. Well, you can't enter a number at first, but well, draw your cut and then after you did it, you can enter a number and change it. For example, you want to split your wall from 3 meters that way. So you can't enter the number at first, but drag it as much as you want. And after you did it, you can change the number. It's written on it. And you go on like this. A split has an option, and that's called delete inner segment. And it actually deletes the space between the first click and the second click. So if we click on the delete inner segment in Revit, it deletes the space from the first click till the second click, just like you see. And it can be so much useful many times. And this is the split command in Revit. Let me tell you one thing as a warning, that's it, just a warning. Next to the split we have another option which is called split with gap. But what does it do? It creates a gap between the first split and the split after it. But don't use this button at all because it causes that your walls disconnect from each other and it ruins a lot of things. Let me explain it to you later on the right time. Now it's not the time. I just told you this only because you don't pick the wrong split. So the next command is trim. The trim in Revit is so much different from the trim in AutoCAD, or we can say that it's not related to that trim at all. This is the icon and the shortcut is TR. The name of it is Trim Extend to Corner, but this one that I will explain later is Trim Extend Single Element. We call this tool Trim and this one Extend. So don't say why these two have the same name. and you call this trim and you call that one extend, because it does exactly what trim does. And the shortcut is clear, is tr, trim. But what does it do? Look at the shape of the icon. It creates the corners. It kind of makes you a very perfect corner. For example, we have these two. For example, these two. Whatever our shape is, it gives us a very perfect corner. So we click on trim and then one click on this wall and another click on this wall. One click on this wall, one click on this wall. It creates the corner. So no matter the walls are separated from each other or they have crossed each other, it gives us a perfect corner. Pay attention to one thing here. When you want to trim these two together, don't click on the point that they cross. Click on one of the walls. There's no need for you to get close to that point because you might click on something else. Another point is that in Revit, while we want to do the trimming, we click on the part that we want it to remain. In trim, we click on the part of the wall that we want it to remain. But what does it mean? It means if you click on this part or that one, these two will remain. Undo. If you click on this one and this one, these will remain. So always click on the parts you want them to remain. The next command is called extend, and we have two kinds of extend that we will go through both of them. Imagine we have a wall here and some other walls here, and we want to get them to it, and also have a wall that cross it. So how does extend command work? So you click on the extend and the first thing you need to do is to locate a boundary for it. So this is the boundary and the walls around it are the objects we want to connect to this wall. But if I say this is the boundary and then I click on this, what happens? Guess. The part on the top will be deleted. And if I say, for example, this is the boundary and I click on here, what happens? The one up there will remain and that one will be deleted. So let me give you a conclusion. In extend, just like trim, we have to click on the part that we want it to remain. Let me tell you one more time. We click on the part that we need it to remain. So let me undo and then ask you some questions. When I say this is the boundary, which one it is? The one on the bottom, the one that is in the middle of it, or the one on the top? In AutoCAD, we just have a line, we call it the boundary. But here we have a wall, and the wall has 3 lines. The answer is that it's not different. Do you remember that when we connected this wall to the main wall, they would go into each other, and no matter it was from here or from the middle part of it or from the outside. So when you're choosing a boundary, it's not important at all that your boundary is this one or the one in the middle or the exterior one. So don't worry about this. Alright. Now let's go for the next tool. Another model of extend is called multiple, and when you choose this multiple extend, you locate the boundary ones and then you can say this one and this one. Yeah, let me undo. You can say this is the boundary, this and this. Instead of doing this all one by one, you can get it all done all together, and definitely it will make your work faster. So that's the extend command. The next command we want to talk about is align, and it's so useful. But what does it do? Just like it's clear from the name, it aligns two walls or it creates a balance between them, no matter they have angles to each other. So I choose the align and I will say that this is the base wall. Behind this wall, it's really important which one you click on. So I want to align behind this wall to that one, right? Let me say again, I will locate this wall as the base wall and I will align that wall to it. And you can see a lock there, don't do anything to that. But if you want to know, if you click on it, the direction of these two walls will be locked. So if I drag this one down, that one will come with it, but don't do anything about that. For example, I want to align this wall to the previous design we had. So I choose align and this one and the one from inside. And then they are aligned and it's different. For example, you see this one is not straight. I want to make it straight. So I choose this as our base and I want to align this wall despite the fact that it's angled. For example, look at this one. I choose the base and then the wall I want to align. Our base and then align. You see, it's so useful, the aligning. We also have the multiple option in this part. Let me undo. So when you click on this, you see this multiple alignment here. You can choose the main direction, the base only once, and then you will click on the objects you want to align. For example, look at this one. I come to multiple alignment and I choose the base and then I will align any wall I want. But if I hadn't clicked on the multiple alignment, then I should have chosen base and then the object and again the base and again the object. But when we activate the multiple, we have to choose the base only once. So our next command is move. Move does two things for us. That's right, that the name is so simple, but the usages are a lot and it does a lot of things for us. The first thing is this. You see, for example, if you choose this wall and then click on move here, and its shortcut is MV. So if you click on move and say, for example, move this from here to here, 9 meters, what did it do? Did it move? No, it dragged it. It stretched it. For example, here, it doesn't move the shape. It stretches it. Even look at this one. This one here, we choose it and then we click on move and that's what it happens. So it means that when it moves an object, it stretches all the objects that are connected to it. And actually it's the same stretch that we have in AutoCAD. Now, the question is that if we don't want it to do this, what should we do? For example, I want to really move this and I don't want other walls to come with it. You select it, you click on move and then you activate this join here. And when you click on this join, this won't happen again. And this join actually does the detaching here. And when I click on this join, as you can see, it doesn't get the rest of the walls with it. But if I don't click on this join, it gets all the walls with it, as you can see. Alright, I want to tell you something and I want you to keep it in your mind all the time. If you move an object and we see that another object is being moved with it, remember that you forgot to activate the disjoint because you wanted to move only that object. This thing happens many times without you understand. For example, you move the console in the upstairs and it moves the wall from downstairs too. And you get angry and you will say that what is the relation between these two? Why did that one move? And as long as you don't activate this join, it might move anything with it. So please remember that anytime you see that something moves without you want, remember that it's because of the disjoin and you need to activate it. The last thing I need to tell you about move is that when you click on move and activate the disjoin, you also see another option called constrain. When you don't activate constrain, that means that you can move your object anywhere you want. But when you activate the constraint, you have to move it horizontal or vertical to no directions but these two. Let me tell you something. Anytime I ask you a question, you need to answer it. And it doesn't matter that I hear you. You need to hear yourself. And you need to do it from now until the end of the lessons we have. All that matters is that your mind starts to search for the answer. And if it's true, then you will be happy. And if it's not, you will learn the right answer. So, what does this constraint look like in the AutoCAD? That's right, like ortho in the AutoCAD. So, anytime you say you want to move it somewhere and it's locked, remember that it's because of the constraint option. You inactivate it and then you can do anything you want. The next tool is copy. Copy has nothing special to talk about. And when you click on copy, you can make a copy of your wall with the length you want. But I should also tell you that the copy has a multiple too. So if you click on it, you can have multiple copies. Let me ask you a question here. I undo and click on copy again. So I copy a wall here in 10 meters, and if I want the next wall to be in 10 meters too, what should I do? Should it be from the first or the last wall? How do we do it in AutoCAD? In AutoCAD, it's based on the first object, but here it's based on the last object. So if you want each wall to be in 10 meters, you should enter the number 10 each time you copy a wall. And I should also tell you that in copy we have constraint too. That actually does the same thing we did in move, and there's actually nothing more about it. There are also other commands that we have in AutoCAD and also in Revit, and one of them is rotate. For example, you have an object and you want it to be rotated, and it's like AutoCAD. There's just one difference, and that's locating the center of the turning. So I choose my object and then I click on rotate. The first thing I need to do is to choose the center based on what I need to rotate it. For example, I want to turn the whole project based on this corner. To do this, you can click on this point and drag it to the point you want. You can also zoom in to see which point of the wall you located, the middle of it or those two parts. So you can click on it and drag it to anywhere you want. Another way is to click on place. If you click on place, then you can locate your center anywhere you want. So one way is to click on the point and drag it to anywhere we want, or click on place and choose the center of the rotation. So this is the first level, and that's to choose the center of the rotation. The second level is to choose a point to start our rotation. For example, I say that the rotation should start from here, and then enter a number, for example 30 degrees. I write it down and enter. It rotates. Let me do it one more time. Rotate the center of the rotation, the start point of the rotation, and then the angle. For example, 40 degrees. There's a point you need to pay attention, and that's if you say that, for example, the point I start my rotation is here. If you get your mouse this way, it gets the angle to this direction, and you can also get the angle to another direction. That means you don't need to enter a negative number. You can get your mouse to anywhere you want and then enter the number. For example, in the Rhino software, it doesn't work like this. If you entered a positive number or a negative number, they all have their own direction. It's not related to the movement of your mouse, but here it is. Now, let's see the options of rotate. For example, copy, you choose this and then you activate the copy, then place, and then you enter a number, for example, 160 degrees. It gives you a copy of it. It also has another option. For example, if I rotate this wall, did you see what happened? It adjusted itself with the other walls. Exactly like move, that when it moved to other direction, the other walls came to the same direction. It does the same thing, but if you don't want this to happen, we need to activate this join in here too. You see, this happens. So when it rotates, it doesn't affect the rest of the walls. The next tool is called mirror. In Revit, we have two types of mirroring. One kind is that you choose the axis of the mirroring yourself, which is this one. Another type is that the axis is already there, which is called pick axis, and I will teach both of them to you. For example, imagine that I want to mirror this room based on the wall in the middle. So I select it, but there is no axis here, so I need to draw it myself. I choose the draw axis, and then I draw the axis myself, and it does the same thing. And I also delete the extra part. So this is one kind. For example, I say that I want a mirror of this shape. From the axis I draw myself. There's no axis, so I locate it myself. And if you don't want a copy of it, and you want it a mirror of it from itself, then you inactivate the copy and that happens. What is another type? And that's there's already an axis there. For example, let me continue these. For example, I want to have a mirror of this room, this side of the wall. So this wall is my axis. I choose these and then I will click on pick axis and then I will locate this wall as the axis, and this happens. So if there's already an axis there, we use this option. Also remember that the objects that are inclined, like arcs, cannot be the axis. For example, let me draw an arc here. As you can see, I can't say that I want to have a mirror of these, for example, based on this arc. It doesn't make any sense either. The axis always needs to be in a straight line. So in this way we can use any mirror we want. Next tool is called scale. Well, I should say that scale is not used much in Revit because, for example, if you have a window in your project, or for example a door, when you choose these, then your scale will be inactivated. For example, the window can never be scaled. So I want you to change your mind about Revit from right now. See, it's not like Rhino and Max and other softwares. It cannot make the object small or big. All these objects have a parameter. We cannot just make it smaller or bigger. They're just walls that have this feature. And in the middle of our work, we can't use this because we have a window, we have a door. So always remember that, for example, you have drawn a project, you have a design, and you suddenly find out that it's too big and you want to make it smaller, but you can't do it. You need to edit each object separated. But imagine that we don't have these doors and windows. We've just started and now we want to scale these walls. Well, at first you choose the walls and then click on scale from here, and then you will activate the numerical option, and then for example we will enter 0.5. So we enter 0.5 and then we should point out that from what base you want to scale. You see, for example, I say that the base can be this corner. I click on it and my project will be half based on that point. But can you say what remained the same and did not change? That's right, the thickness of the walls. But why did that happen? It's because the thickness of the walls have parameters too. The objects that have parameters cannot be scaled, but the walls can be scaled. So let's do it one more time. I choose the object first, then I click on scale, inactivate the numerical, enter the number, then I will locate the base point and I click, and it will be scaled based on that point. There's also another way, and that's you say that I just know that from here to here should be 25 meters. I don't care how much it is now, I just know how much it should be. Do you know what we called it in AutoCAD? That's right, scale reference. So I choose these first. I will click on scale and this time it will be on graphical mode. The first level is to click on the 2 points of the wall that I want to have a specific size for it. For example, I said this wall and I click on 2 points. The second level is to enter the size. How much it's going to be? 25 meters. Enter. No matter how much it was, now it's 25 meters. One more time. For example, they tell us that this wall from here to here should be 8 meters. We choose it, click on scale, and then activate graphical. And then we click on 2 points of the wall we want. We say from here to here, no matter how much it is, it should be 8 meters. This is called scale reference, but in Revit it's called graphical scale. I should also remind you again that in scale, the thickness doesn't change and it stays constant, just like you knew. We didn't talk about the height too, but know that the height stays the same and doesn't change. Alright, let me tell you one more point so that you can practice after that. The objects that need to be selected, for example, move, copy, rotate, scale, they need a select. But for example, offset doesn't need to be selected. As you can see, we just click on it and then do our work, just like you see. We don't select. The tools that need a select, like move, one way is to select the object first and then click on move, and another way is that first click on move and then select the part, and I've seen a lot of people do it, Well, it's okay, but you need to click on enter after that too so that it works, because it must know that your select is over. So let me tell you again, in the commands that need a select, first select, and then for example you click on copy and then you can get it done. But if you click on the tool first, as you can see, and then select that part, you need to click on enter first too, because you need to announce to Revit that my selecting is over. So one enter, and then you can continue working with the tool you want. Please, I beg you to practice this part really well, because next episode is gonna be so important. I want you to be ready.